Good morning, world. Maria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Stars Are Us, our monthly astrology show for October with my excellent co-host, Joe Anthony. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning. Happy October.
Happy October. Man, I'm glad that we don't live in Florida today.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I saw some pictures and the flooding is just incredible to see that storm. I mean, Florida is what, just about a foot below sea level or above sea level at certain points.
Right.
It doesn't take much to flood that place. So, yeah, I mean, this is the one thing that I mean, they can control, but it's just, we have to deal with the after effects of the rain and the storm and the wind and all that other fun stuff.
I know, and they had some pretty huge evacuations. Was there anything in the stars to predict this?
Well, as I've been saying all along, keep an eye on the weather and water. And I've been saying this since 2008, 2009, in presentations. I've said, watch the water. Neptune in Pisces represents water. So anything to do with water, dams, rivers, the pollution that we've been seeing, the fight and the control over water rights with the Native Americans, also with oil. I mean, we could see these trends. Mm-hmm. So every time there's a severe eclipse like we had last month, these two eclipses that came in, it's like rocking the boat cosmically, saying, hey, okay, we're going to shake it up a little bit. And of course, with Mercury retrograde. So there's no one indication or indicator that we had any cosmic alignments that would affect the weather. But I would say, generally speaking, with Neptune in Pisces, we're going to have more issues around water. Mm-hmm. So it's just a given. Okay? So I tell people, prepare. Just prepare, the best you can. And at least with hurricanes, we have a heads up on when they're going to hit, as opposed to, say, an earthquake in California or, some of these other places. But it is predictable and can be avoided. So if people just listen and move along.
Right. Now, last month they said we had a black moon. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, we give these names. They're not really anything technical, And so a black moon is kind of like a blue moon, having two lunations and then a darker version of it, like the shadow of the first moon. You see, and so that's what we would consider like a black moon. Mm-hmm. But last month, this month, we all got these now weird dynamics with the moons because we're having new moons at the end of the month. You see, and they're spilling over into the last month. But these are very powerful lunations during the fall here, and so ever since the eclipses from March and April. They seem to have become more intense and intensified. And so, the black moon would be just as it sounds, like a mysterious, eerie kind of moon. And we could feel it. We could absolutely feel it. These moons are like really, really weird and eerie in a sense. So it's like it's Halloween every moon,
Right.
So we could feel it.
Right.
And so the next new moon is really the day before Halloween, and I wrote that in the newsletter as well, All Hallows Eve. Mm-hmm. And that one should be a real interesting one. It's in Scorpio. So talk about eerie and creepy and woo-woo, I'm probably going to get that feeling as well.
Maybe that's why all the clowns are out. That's a new phenomena going around the country. Crazy clowns.
Crazy clowns, really? I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, they're arresting people dressed like clowns. Yeah, one clown tried to rip off some lady's handbag. I mean, it's like the clown apocalypse. And somebody had a cute meme this morning. They said, "What do you expect but a clown apocalypse when this election is a circus?"
Mm-hmm. Well, I think people are really losing their grip on reality because I see it here all the time. I see it with some of the people when I go into stores. I'm getting it from all angles. And so, and I know this is Sedona, so anything's possible up here. But when I start hearing it from people in other cities, people are just acting strange or acting weird. And so I think it's affecting everyone. Right. And as I've been saying all along, I don't think it's just the astrology. I think it's beyond the astrology that what's happening. It's these cosmic rays that are coming in, and it's affecting us, and we're not used to it. It's changing and scrambling our brain chemistry. It's making us feel different. I know you've been having some issues with your neck and shoulders and so on. And so it's definitely doing something to us physically, no doubt about it.
Well, they can do it a little less painfully. I would be A-okay with that.
But this month, this is a month where we need to find balance, Maria, because we're going through Libra now. The sun is going through Libra, and the new moon we just had in Libra. So it's really about trying to find balance, and that's exactly what I wrote in my newsletter. And so up until about the 22nd of this month, we're trying to just keep our senses about us, fair-mindedness, being more charming and being, just more centered in a sense. And so we have this energy. As a matter of fact, today, as we're recording this on the 7th, Mercury has gone into Libra as well. And so this is definitely a tendency for keeping the peace. And I know we're going to get into this, but obviously keeping the peace may be a difficult thing because we have psychopaths running this world that want to initiate a war with Russia, China, and Iran. Right. And there's more speculation on this, every day now.
Absolutely. So, I've been covering that on my news shows, and you don't see that covered anywhere else on mainstream media. It's all about the election, and, now, of course, it's all about the storm on the southeast. But I will say this, I wanted to ask you, what I found is a lot of purging going on, a lot of emotional purging, realizations, even realizing, imbalance in relationships, especially friendships, because, when I was a kid, I was raised to believe friendship is a two-way street. But what I've been contemplating a lot of is a lot of my relationships that are lopsided or one-sided. And once the anger comes up, then the cutting comes right after that. It's like, I don't want to be part of that drama anymore. So it's almost like a self-protective mechanism. And this has been going on, at least for me. I don't know if any of my listeners feel the same. I would say for the past 2 weeks, even more so.
Yes, and I would totally agree with that because you're absolutely right. It is a purging that's taking place. We're stripping away the old belief systems, and that includes friendships. And so over the years, as we continue to awaken to reality, because as you know, this is not reality. We live in some sort of matrix, energetic, illusion. And as we continue to awaken and evolve, we're going to gravitate towards those souls that are on the same level. And that means cosmically, that means spiritually, that means, real friends that, we have a connection to, a heartfelt connection to. And this is one of the reasons I moved to Sedona. And, I didn't plan on being here, but now that I'm here, the people that I'm meeting here, Maria, I have to be honest with you, I feel like they are family. Okay? And they could just be acquaintances. So we're going to continue to see this move from either the major cities, even family members that just don't get it and are not on the same level. We're going to just move into these other areas or connect with souls that are on the same level. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's like you said, it's a purging. It's a getting rid of the negativity. And this is what the Hopis with Prophecy Rock is all about. It's society dividing. Those that understand what's happening and are gravitating towards each other for more of a harmonious surrounding and environment. And those that don't will continue to stay on this lower level of, I'm confused, I don't know who I am, where I'm going, and I'm just going to stay asleep. And so this is exactly what we have. And of course, going through Libra, it's about trying to find that balance. And so especially the theme of Libra is relationships. So all kinds of relationships and partnerships. So here we have a perfect example of purging. Now, the next wave that comes in around the full moon, it'll bring in even more of a purge, because then the full moon in Aries is going to be opposing the sun. So here is this push-pull once again of, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I know I need to change. Mm-hmm. And so if there are relationships that are a little shaky right now, you might as well say, I wish you well, my friend, and move on, because the energy just keeps getting more and more, I don't want to say intense, but it's that feeling of, I need to let go of this. This is not working for me anymore. This person's not working for me anymore. Right. And so I need to move forward in my direction and connect with those souls that are on the same level.
Absolutely. I can't disagree with that. But, I've always taught and told people there's two kinds of people in this world, givers and takers. And what I'm realizing is that, wow, somehow along the line, I picked up quite a few takers, and they need to go, one way or the other. So I just want to know if it was just me, because I think I've been more deeply contemplating than ever before. Mm-hmm. And, I do know as a Sagittarian, we tend to be more philosophy than, most people. But it's like, wow, mm-hmm. It's like my mind is always playing and replaying different scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're a healer, a teacher, a counselor. So it's natural that you're going to have people gravitate towards you looking for answers. Okay, I'm sure your entire life, just like mine, I had people come up to me asking me questions and sharing their information for no apparent reason, and now I understand why. But so we naturally draw these people to us because they're not sure who they are, and so my answer to them, and there's no time to waste. I get right to the point. I say, understand who you are. You're a spirit in a body having an experience. Everything else, your mind is just trying to process. Okay, and so somehow, and then of course I give them some information on how to understand that concept, and it plants the seed. So you see, right now, since time is accelerating, or our perception of time is accelerating, we have no time to waste.
Right.
The more we could wake up humanity, the greater and the more beneficial the world will be. This is the beauty of the internet and technology, is the more people understand what is actually happening, how we give our power away, and who we really are, the dark ones cannot take that anymore. They will not be able to do what they're doing, manipulating frequencies and people and all that other stuff. So the more we awaken the consciousness and get people on a one-to-one basis realizing who they are, and then of course they tell their friends, and then it keeps growing, mm-hmm. the more we will move this planet in another direction. And the faster we'll be, because, like I said, time is accelerating, or our perception of time is accelerating. Mm-hmm. And so we could peacefully go into where we want to go, which is, everyone wants harmony. Everyone wants, to be sort of safe and secure. And I don't want people bombing them, and trying to manipulate them and rob them and so on and so forth.
Right.
And so this is a generality around the world. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants this.
Right.
It's being pushed upon us.
Right. Well, it's interesting because you talk about synchronicity. Every day I post a meme on my Facebook page for my readings, my worldwide readings with Maria Facebook page. And here's the one I posted today, Joe, because I think you'll get a kick out of it. Every person who awakens will cause a ripple effect across the consciousness of the planet that will unavoidably awaken and inspire others.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
I mean,
wonderful.
That's pretty much exactly what you just said, so we must be in tune. You did say, though, that this month looks like it would be a little easier or a little better cosmically mm-hmm. than last month was. Mm-hmm. What can we thank for that?
Well, the Libra energy, the Libra sun right now going through the constellation of Libra, Mercury in Libra. This is all very favorable for peace and harmony. Even though in the old days in certain cultures, this is the time of war, because Venus represented war. Not only does it represent love and romance and money, but in the ancient cultures Venus was the god of war. And so this is why we hear all this talk about war right now, you see, uh-huh. and justice and fairness and all this other stuff. So at the same time, this peace is within us. We're connecting with those that we need to connect with. As I wrote as I put up with the New Moon Outlook, I said it's going to be trying to find balance while lots of socializing, And that's what we're doing. We're connecting with people. We're wanting to talk to them. We're wanting to share. But at the same time, we're trying to find a balance. We're more at peace with ourselves. And so this is what Libra represents, finding peace, but there are 2 days this month that are, a little challenging, to say the least. And Mars happens to be involved with both of those days. Okay, and so once everything starts to shift into Scorpio, Scorpio is about death and rebirth and transformation. So we have a different type of energy coming in. But for the first 21 days of October, we should have more peace and harmony. Because Libra loves harmony. Libras, or Libra rising or Libra moon people hate having conflict. They really do not like it. It goes against their general good nature. Right. So this time of the year, it's always best to enjoy nature, to enjoy the people you really like and love and you want to be around. And relationships of all kinds are highlighted during this time. So we're always looking for more harmonious interactions during this time of the year. So I say embrace it, because they're all cycles.
Right.
The next one could be another weird one.
Right. Well, what you said about Venus is kind of interesting, because when you said it used to be known as the god of war, and then it became known as the god of love, I wondered if that expression, all's fair in love and war, was connected to Venus.
I would not doubt it. And that sounds right on the money. But the thing is with Venus and the sign of Libra and Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. You see, Venus or Libra and the 7th house in astrology, because that's the house that Libra rules, is also about open enemies. You see, not only partnerships in a harmonious way, but in a not so harmonious way. Like enemies that you just do not like and despise, you have a connection with them as well. You have a partnership with them as well. Except that it's not loving and caring. It's more of the I hate you and I despise you type feeling, but it's still a relationship. You still have a relationship with someone.
Right.
And so it does represent both, and it can represent both.
Right. Now, every election season, especially presidential, we always expect an October surprise. And when I was looking at your newsletter, you've got on October 28th, Mars squaring Uranus. And I wondered if this could turn into an October surprise.
It sure could. You got 2 dates. You got October the 19th, when Mars conjuncts Pluto, right on top of each other that whole day. This could be intense conflict or some sort of issue comes out, and government's being pushy because it's in Capricorn. So we could have some revelation there as well. But yes, the 28th, Mars square Uranus. Uranus is a sign that's unpredictable. Mars is about force. And so we could have sudden accidents, we could have explosions, we could have war, we could have sudden information coming out of nowhere that maybe hurts one of the candidates. But the news that I get, and I'm sure your listeners are well aware of this, there's something going on behind the scenes here. A real battle for who they want to put up as president and chief.
Right. Thief and chief.
And so that's what's happening behind the scenes, and there could be some more revelations. And a lot of this stuff is, from what I gather, is coming from the alphabet agencies themselves, because they're not that fond of Trump, but at the same time they despise Hillary. And so there's a lot of information coming from these alphabet agencies, and they're being spoon-fed to, say, WikiLeaks or these other agencies or these other alternative news sources. So anything is possible, and it could be, there's speculation about no election. Maybe something happens weather-wise, supposedly.
Right, I thought about that with this whole Hurricane Matthew. Don't think I didn't think about that, because some people are already posting, is this another way to suppress the vote?
Exactly. Exactly. So we know how devious, and we know how manipulative these people behind the scenes can be. So we can't put anything past them. So we'll know when it comes in. But yes, that date of the 28th is what, a week away from the elections. Excuse me.
Right. Selections.
And so
selections more like it. But the one blessing of the hurricane was both campaigns stopped campaigning while the storm is going on. I'm like, yay! At least there's something good coming out of it. But I also saw how much fear they threw into the reporting on this hurricane. And my whole family's in Florida. They're well prepared and they've ridden out many a hurricane. But I think it was Sam Shepard, you're going to die, your children are going to die. I posted it and said, is this for real? But then it became everywhere. So I was like, instead of saying hang in there, do the best you can, the gouging, price gouging immediately started. And I had that conversation with one of my family members who's, loves capitalism, who's trapped in, $9.99 a gallon of gas and, $30 for a bottle of water. And she said, well, that's just human nature. And I said, no, that's capitalism. I said, human nature, real human nature, is people helping people. And if people start believing that it's human nature to screw your neighbor at the worst possible time, then maybe they're missing out on a little bit of their humanity.
Oh, absolutely. Besides, we don't really have capitalism. We have crony capitalism.
Right, greedy capitalism. Right.
It's not capitalism.
Right.
But anyway, anytime, and that's the power of the mainstream media, unfortunately, is to keep people in fear. Every news story on mainstream media starts off with a shooting, a killing, this, that. And of course, at the end, they want you they put in some fluff story to make you feel good. So what they're doing is they're playing with your emotions,
it's just a shame that so many people can be played so easily. It's crazy.
Yes. I walked into this store the other day and they had and this was in the daytime, they had those talk shows in the background playing.
Right. And
it was like chalk. It was like the nails on a chalkboard to me. I could not stand listening to this stuff.
I know. I know, and there's TVs wherever you go. You can go to a doctor's office. You can go, to a Subway. No matter where you go, there's TVs everywhere. It's like Big Brother constantly reinforcing the fear, the message of fear. You need us. Be afraid. We'll take care of you. And that's always been what I've been afraid of. Yeah, they'll take care of us, okay. What happens when the sun moves into Scorpio on the 22nd?
Well, everything gets ramped up. Scorpio is a very intense, passionate sign. And it's also very secretive. It's also about the psyche. And so what happens then is we either begin to hide out more or we become more like investigators, wanting to investigate things. Curiosity, dig deep. The benefit of Scorpio, much like Virgo, is digging deep to the core to get answers, to figure out what's really going on. So it could be very beneficial. Now, Scorpio, like Taurus, represents finances. So look for some major news once again around the financial system in some way, because where I'm getting my news from, and the European Union is fracturing big time. Okay, Italy is, there's speculation that Italy wants out of the EU big time. You're not going to hear this on mainstream media.
Of course not. What about Deutsche Bank? You were dead on with that, and now it looks like the United States is willing to drop $10 billion off their fine just to keep them afloat.
Right. This is the bank to watch, and I'm sure your listeners are aware, because they hold all these toxic derivatives, all those bundled up mortgages, bundled up crap, all went to Deutsche Bank, and so if this bank collapses, you're going to see the domino effect. The big banks will start collapsing. So as soon as you hear any news about Deutsche Bank crumbling and collapsing, or whatever it is, I would suggest people start taking your money out of the large banks. Citibank, JP Morgan Chase, all of these criminal institutions.
Wells Fargo, let's not leave those criminals out.
Oh, no, I'm not leaving. No, absolutely. But I'm just saying all the major banks. And right away they're going to implement a bank holiday. I guarantee you that. If they do that, because that's how they're going to stop the people from taking their money out. Besides, there is no money in those banks.
Right.
They don't have the reserves in those banks to cover what they actually have, because it's all digits on a screen.
Right. It's all fake. It's all fake. Listen, I did a thing with, I think it was Catherine Fitz years ago on the 4th of July. It had to be a minimum, I want to say 12, 15 years ago on my show, where we told people to get their money out of the major banks and put them in local banks or put them in federal credit unions. I immediately did that. And I've been telling people ever since, and I got to say, it must have been 15 years ago. But there's still a lot of people that they want to believe. They want to believe in the system, even when they see the system crashing in front of them.
Right, because they don't know where to turn, and I find that a lot when I start talking about this stuff to people, even up here, about, getting your money out of the bank and putting it into credit union, and get some gold or silver coins as an insurance policy, something, and then stock up on at least 3 to 6 months worth of dry food, and this is just playing it safe.
Right.
Even, what happens if the weather is bad, like Florida, or if we lose the internet? I don't know if I told you this story, but a couple of years ago up here, we lost the internet for about 8 hours. We had no cell phone coverage. Right. Nobody could check out at the grocery stores.
Right.
So look at cash. What happens.
Exactly.
You can get gas.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that happened in my town, and it was for 24 hours. And luckily I keep a little cash in the house, because without cash, listen, cash is still king. Without cash, no one could do anything. However, I will tell you this, without the internet, no one's phones were working either. Not a cell phone, not a landline. It was heaven on earth outside of the inconvenience of not being able to use your credit cards.
Sure.
Everybody was friendly. Everybody was out and about. The gym was packed. People had other things to do. They realized life goes on without being glued to your computer 24 hours a day.
Right.
And I have to tell you, it was a very pleasant respite, without question of a doubt. So right before Halloween, we get a blue moon. Or is it a blue moon? It's a new moon, but isn't it the second new moon of the month?
Well, technically, yes, because the last moon was in September on the 30th, but it was also on the 1st. I mean, yes, it'd be considered a blue moon. Yes, another moon at the end of the month. So, yes, that's 2 of them in 2 months. And so think about this, all of these moons are like intense barometers for emotions, feelings, foundation, and so on. And so that moon in Scorpio is really going to be highlighting our psyche. It's going to be highlighting our desire to change in some way, and we'll be thinking about it. And so it's like, as I said here, it's like switching on the light in the dark, especially with the new moon. And also, of course, in the notes, in my newsletter, I talk about, there's this feeling of distrust, or this profound, bringing out the shadow and basically coming to profound conclusions about things. So this could be a very revealing time, even though we may find ourselves, in sort of a subconscious mood, thinking deeper on a deeper level. But it's a very powerful energy. Mysterious and alluring in a sense. Sexuality is also associated with Scorpio, so we'll be thinking about stuff like that. But the main thing I would say is keep an eye on the October surprise, because look how close the new moon is to the Mars square Uranus on the 28th. One is on the 28th, and then 2 days later we have the new moon. Right. So I would say if any event was to happen this month, it's going to be towards the end of the month. Okay, whether it's financial, weather-wise, I don't want to say indictments or anything like that, because nobody's going to indict anybody.
No, of course not. We have 2 criminals running for office. No matter how much gets exposed about either one of them, no one seems to mind. So I'm like, my God, what kind of world is this? Yesterday I went in to pick up my quarterly taxes to pay them. And I told my CPA, I said to her, I'm paying my taxes, which is a lot more than Donald Trump is doing. And she just, I mean, it was such a good way to start a conversation. And I always look to start conversations wherever I go. And she agreed. She says, and he's not the only one. I says, yeah, but little peons like you and me, we have to pay. I remember Leona Helmsley once said, we don't pay taxes. The little people pay taxes.
Well, when you run in those circles, okay, you enter the billionaire group, you are connected to all of those, high-powered, sneaky, families. Mm-hmm. You're connected to all the bankers. You do not become a billionaire by not having these connections. And what's his name? Kevin Trudeau. Is it Kevin Trudeau? Yeah, the one you interviewed there.
Right. Still
went to
rotting
prison.
In jail. Right.
He admitted it. Once you become a billionaire, you're in a club. You're in an elite club. Mm-hmm. And you have to play ball. Otherwise, if you don't, you wind up like he did.
Exactly.
You see, outside the system. Mm-hmm. So, and yes, they don't pay taxes because they take all their money offshore and put it into their buddies' accounts, and friendly banks and so on and so forth, of course. But that taxation is just totally, we're totally being ripped off. Oh, we could fund the entire government with just the tariffs on the gas and all this other stuff that they have. They don't need our income tax. Mm-hmm. We know that it's unconstitutional.
Exactly.
That the IRS should not exist, just like the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, maybe that's going to be the money surprise that's been showing up for a couple of months now in, astrologically on our shows. The financial collapse. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, people just can't survive the way they're going. I met a lady yesterday who lives in Oregon. And she says, mm-hmm. we don't have a state tax. She said, but they tax everything there. And, mm-hmm. she went off on it. And I'm like, well, where's all that money going? She said, to the state. Right. I said, what are they doing with it? She said, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice. It's nice to see people starting to wake up. And I think a lot of what's been revealed in this election, from the stuff Bernie Sanders talked about, to the exposing mm-hmm. of, the Clinton money machine, to the Trump money machine, how the rich get richer and the poor get screwed. I think it's all been quite enlightening for the majority. And I believe the majority understands, even though it's the minority that gets the press. Okay, the crazy mm-hmm. people, they seem to get the press. But the majority of people I talk to, they're fairly awake. So I think that's a good sign. Good. Joe, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we've got lots more for you. We'll also have your personal horoscopes. If you haven't checked out Joe's channel on YouTube, please do, okay? That's like the first thing I do when the month changes is I look to see if you put up everybody's horoscopes on YouTube, and I sit there and watch them. And it's free, so I have no excuse not to check it out because, like I always say, you may not believe in astrology, but astrology believes in you, kind of like politics. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Maria Heller. If you're enjoying this show, please consider listening to the rest of it, along with hundreds of other hours of education, by a small subscription on my site. Get over to meria.net, meria.net. You are the only thing that supports this show. There's no corporate control, and there's plenty of education on site. So please consider either a subscription or a donation to keep the work going. There are too many alternative voices out there that are being silenced because of lack of support. So if you don't want MSM to be the only mind-controlling news out there, please consider supporting the people that support you and help us all save something for the future for our children. Thank you so much.